I was going to make this video at the start of October, but here I am at the end of October. About 2 weeks ago, something happened in my life, and I felt this absolute sadness, this really strong emotion, something I haven't felt in years from what I can recall. And all it did was confirm that my original idea for this video is right. What I realized quite long ago is right. So what I'm going to talk about hasn't actually changed from the original idea from at the start of October, but this was a nice confirmation still, though it was not actually needed, but it happened, so pointless to talk about it. When I felt this absolute sadness, I did not feel unhappy, and I had already realized that emotions, what you physically feel, it does not affect happiness. So what is happiness then? Of course, these are only words made up by human beings to explain things. So it has to be felt. Each individual has to feel this and sense this themselves. Happiness is essentially being alive, and alive meaning accepting life as it is. I've already talked about this enough in my videos. Having inner peace is being happy, and no physical emotion is going to affect it. The problem is that people often confuse happiness with joy, and joy can be seen physically if you smile or around there. Of course, this is a word that doesn't only mean one thing. Joy is a bit bigger, same as it is with sadness. And what should also not be confused, that when somebody is crying, that is simply letting out your emotions. It does not mean that because somebody is crying they will always be sad. Usually nowadays it is like that, and it has been for me also in the past. I've usually cried because of sadness, but I've also cried because of joy, and I'm sure that many have had this. So again, another confirmation that letting out emotions, it's all physical. This is because it can be seen on somebody. Emotions are here, happiness is here. And something that is actually important is trying to not look for happiness somewhere else on the outside. Happiness has to be there pretty much forever, at least until your physical body dies. So of course you will not find happiness in money or all the non-natural things, because for one thing they don't even last forever and they have no meaning anyway, and so on. That's pointless. Also, when sun boosts your hormones, that is not happiness. It is again joy. But I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm simply saying, see the difference between happiness and joy. You can be happy and be joyful. You can be happy and be sad, and everything else that is physically felt, because you have accepted life. And if you have accepted life, how can you be unhappy? There is actually this German guy who made a video saying that it's possible to always feel happy, and back then I also, like many, assumed that he's talking about joy, so I didn't agree with him, and I actually simply assumed that he's wrong, but later realized he is right. It is possible, if you have inner peace and if you are alive, to actually feel happy, at least most of the time. Again, everybody has to go through this themselves. back when I made the video Art and Popularity, I already talked about this a little bit, but I did not fully understand it. I felt it and sensed it, but I did not understand what exactly it means. So I did not understand why I could listen to something like I mentioned DSBM and still feel happy. How can it be? Now it makes more sense to me. Also, depression, however you define it, it sounds like it is unhappiness, because you would want to die when you're depressed, whereas when you're happy and you have inner peace and you're alive, you want to live. But if you're dead and depressed, you want to die, because it's pulling you in that direction. So, of course, just to say the obvious, depression cannot be healed with those medicaments and everything that will physically change your emotions, because it's not depression. Just like happiness, depression is here and your body is here, and it does not work like that. Of course they're both connected, but it's very different, and if you feel it yourself, you will understand what I'm saying. Now I'm going to talk about loneliness. Yes, a very sad topic, which it isn't. The word loneliness is very misinterpreted. Too big word for me. No, it's misused. Because of these many songs, these terrible mainstream songs that misuse the word loneliness and associate it with sadness usually. I'm so lonely and so on. These lyrics and the music that goes along with it is terrible, and it completely brainwashes people. Loneliness is a word that means being alone, essentially, and it does not mean that you're sad. There's no emotion at all attached to the word, but nowadays it is used like that, which is why I said it's misused. I went through absolute isolation from 2006 to at least 2010, but that was when I used to play that game, which I don't even want to mention anymore, and even after, but that was actually a terrible time for me. Although what it did do is, because of this isolation, when I went back into society, I saw people different, but it was still not in a good way. Afterwards, from 2010 to somewhere around this time, this kind of loneliness and isolation actually helped me a lot. It's a life experience, and I do not regret it, seeing, as I've already talked about regret. Whatever happened, whatever happens to anybody is what makes them into the human beings they are, and it's just what I went through, and now in the end I'm glad I went through this loneliness and isolation, because without that I would not have realized probably anything. However, one thing I can admit is possible is that being with somebody you genuinely have a, let's just say, connection with. This absolute true connection, honesty, I believe that it is possible to actually get happier because of the aura, because of this connection, because that's not physical, not only physical anymore. So happiness can also come from the outside in that kind of way, but it's of course quite rare to actually get it, and it's always good to have time alone. There are people who, for example, are unable to spend any time alone because that's when things start to happen.